In a world where the majority of products we consume end up in landfills to decompose at the end of their lives, there is a common material that these products are either made of or covered in, which is plastic. Since the 1960s, plastics have been common and essentially inescapable. They've permeated our culture and they cover our produce. They are in children's toys and they continue to be added in the majority of our consumer products without us noticing. As plastics degrade in the environment due to chemical, biological, and mechanical processes, microplastics are generated as a result of this fragmentation. National Geographic defines microplastics as tiny plastic particles less than 5 millimeters in length that result from both commercial product development and the breakdown of larger plastics. While there's been some research on plastics, researchers have begun to shift their focus to microplastics, which is far less studied and understood. There are many mysteries on how microplastics can shape our future. There have been many flashy headlines about microplastics. For instance, scientists have been finding microplastics in our bodies, which seems to be very concerning for people who know about this topic. For our study, we decided to focus on microplastics in Colorado waterways. To explore this topic further, we decided to compile data and interview prominent researchers and experts to illustrate the dangers of microplastics in our waters, as there is underwhelming research that has been conducted in this field.
To better understand how microplastics travel in our waterways, we decided to interview CU professor William Travis to gain a larger perspective about how waterway management and risk assessment works.
So I'm Bill Travis, an associate professor at University of Colorado in the Department of Geography. And I've got my degrees in geography, mostly natural resources geography, at Florida State University in Utah, University of Utah, and at Clark University, and have taught at University of Wyoming and now at the University of Colorado. Water really became a focus for me to develop a class in my own research along two lines. When you don't have enough water, droughts, and when there's too much, flooding. And one of the issues is how do we have water systems that meet basic human needs, and they meet them in terms of volume and quality. That's it. Every water manager out in the West and around the world is trying to deliver a certain amount of water in a reliable way at a certain quality, and they're fighting drought and they're fighting pollution to accomplish that. The other aspect that water managers, dealing especially with biological pollutants, is they could find the source. You could go and either with a chemical pollutant or a biological pollutant, you could find where the sewage was dumping into your water system, or where an industrial process was putting it in your water system. The plastics come from everywhere. They're very distributed in the environment. So, and we used to just call that non-point source, but even the concept of non-point source pollution in water systems is a little not quite up to describing the plastic situation.
In order to gain a better insight on the amount and percentage of microplastics in Colorado waterways, we then spoke with Alexis Kilbane, who is a prominent contributor to the only study we could find studying microplastics within Colorado waterways.
My own educational background is in arts and sciences. I have studied international relations and diplomacies in my bachelor's degree, and in my master's degree I studied international human rights, but I had a concentration in global environmental change and adaptation. Koperg is the Colorado Public Interest Research Group, and they're a part of the Environment Colorado, and these are all part of this larger public interest network. So The crux of the project there was to see if individuals just partaking in citizen science could uncover microplastics present in the waterways in Colorado that we all view as so pristine and beautiful. And of course they are, but the outcome was that they are also filled with microplastics. Mobilized to like 16 different waterways around the Front Range pretty much. But it was in 100% of them with, small samples of waters and everything, which I think indicates how prevalent it is. In our study, we wanted to look at areas near recreational sites because we love to enjoy our water systems in Colorado, of course. But individuals that do might not be as aware of the risks that seem to be present, that are present in seemingly pristine environments. What I particularly saw focusing on the water was the effects on aquatic animals, and I do believe there was like internal disruptions with fish and aquatic birds in particular, where their reproduction was affected. They would have physical like blockages from too much plastic. Their internal processes like digestion would also be disrupted. However, highly important and interesting to us as an effect on the environment and for humans who eat throughout the food chain is bioaccumulation of these toxins, where the animals that are eating each other, who have eaten the microplastics, mistaking them as food, are building up more and more of these toxins that we happen to know are like carcinogenic and bad for the human body, bad for the environment. It seems to be like a scary volume issue. In the fact that as low as you go on the food chain, the like microscopic nature of these microplastics means are like, some of our smallest organisms will take them in, and gradually, the duck or whatever that you're eating may be holding like more microplastics than you can fathom.
Finally, we asked both Travis and Kilbane about their thoughts on the potential risks of microplastics and about the current lack of research in the field.
Well, here's the great question, right? If we've got a new pollutant, or let's just say a newly recognized pollutant, hard to measure, hard to detect, widespread, what's the risk? Some now already epidemiological studies, we have concerns about health risk, okay. But in general, is it in every system? Are the microplastics and other of the, let's call them novel pollutants, making their way through water treatment systems? And I just think we really lack information, we lack knowledge. If you don't have a low knowledge situation of a potentially serious risk, how do you do the risk assessment? I think we probably ought to be thinking worst case. In an unknown situation.
We are at the point where we're just beginning to reckon with the effects of something that we've been doing with seemingly little consequences.